Hi, I'm Sarah. Today, I'm going to read you the story of Polly, which is titled like this. After another fancy party, I paid $2,500. I told my family, you have to cut costs. I can't support you anymore. They laughed and demanded to pay for my brother's birthday at the most expensive restaurant. I sent them $5 and turned off my phone. Well, let's go. My name is Polly, and I'm 27 years old. It all started when I was 16. That's when everything went to hell for my family. Dad got laid off from his job at the manufacturing plant where he'd worked for 15 years. Just like that, one day he was coming home with his usual tired smile, and the next day he was sitting at our kitchen table with his head in his hands, telling Mom they'd restructured his entire department. Weeks turned into months. Dad applied everywhere: retail stores, warehouses, other factories. Nothing. The bills kept coming, though: electric, gas, water, rent, groceries. My little brother Danny was 14 then, still obsessed with his stupid video games and completely oblivious to how bad things were getting. I remember the exact moment I decided to get a job. Mom was crying over a stack of bills at the kitchen table, and Dad was pretending to read the newspaper, but I could see his hands shaking. Danny was in his room, probably playing some war game, totally clueless. I'm getting a job, I announced. There's a cafe downtown that's hiring. I can work after school and weekends. My parents didn't object. They just nodded, looking relieved that someone was taking action. I think they were too stressed to argue about whether a 16-year-old should be working instead of focusing on school. So that's how I ended up working at Sunnyside Cafe, serving coffee and sandwiches to office workers and college students. The manager, Mrs. Rodriguez, was nice enough. She let me work flexible hours around my school schedule. I'd rush from my last class, hop on the bus, and spend the next 4 hours making lattes and cleaning tables. Every 2 weeks, I'd come home with my paycheck and hand it straight to Mom. All of it. She'd always get this look of relief mixed with guilt, like she wanted to hug me and apologize at the same time. Finally, after a whole year of this, Dad got hired at a smaller company. The pay wasn't as good as his old job, but it was something. I felt this huge wave of relief wash over me. Finally, I could quit the cafe or at least cut back to just weekends. But when I mentioned reducing my hours, Mom explained that Danny was getting more serious about basketball. The travel team costs money, equipment, tournaments, travel expenses. They needed that extra income from my job. So I kept working. I kept handing over every single paycheck while Danny got new basketball shoes and went to camps and tournaments. The crazy thing is, I was actually proud of myself. My grades were still great, I was learning responsibility, and I was helping my family. When college acceptance letters started arriving senior year, I had options. The day I got my full scholarship letter from State University, I was over the moon. Full ride, tuition, books, everything covered. It was only 30 minutes away, so I could still live at home and help out. Mom was initially worried about me going to college instead of working full-time, but when I promised I could do both, she brightened up immediately. Oh, well, if you can do both, then that's wonderful, honey. Congratulations. So I started college and kept my job at the cafe. I'd attend classes during the day, then rush to work in the evenings. I was exhausted most of the time, barely keeping my eyes open during late-night study sessions. But seeing how happy Mom got every time I handed her my paycheck made it all feel worth it. Her whole face would light up, and she'd give me this grateful smile that made my heart warm. Meanwhile, Danny was 18 now and spent his time after school hanging out with friends or playing computer games in his room. He never worked, never contributed anything to the family finances. I figured once he graduated, he'd get a job too and help out. One evening, after a particularly brutal shift at the cafe, I was sitting at dinner, completely wiped out. Danny was talking about some new game he wanted to buy, and something inside me snapped. Why don't you get a job? I asked him. I've been working since I was 16. You're 18 now. The whole family went silent. They all stared at me like I'd grown a second head or said something completely insane. That's completely different, Mom said slowly. The conditions were different back then. Danny needs to focus on school and getting ready for college. He can't be distracted by work. I looked around the table at Mom, Dad, and Danny, who was just sitting there letting them defend him. Nobody seemed to see the irony that I'd been working and going to school for 2 years already. I didn't say anything else. Everything was clear enough. That pattern continued through all 4 years of college. I worked, studied, handed over my paychecks, and watched Danny coast through high school without lifting a finger to help the family. When I graduated with my marketing degree, I knew I had to get out of that house. I found a job at a decent marketing firm and started looking for my own place. Why do you want to move out? Mom asked when I told them my plans. You can save so much money living here with us. I need my independence, I said. But what I really meant was, if I stay here, you'll take every penny I earn and I'll never have anything for myself. They tried everything to convince me to stay. Dad talked about family values. Mom cried and said I was abandoning them. Danny just shrugged, like he didn't care either way. But I moved out anyway, into this tiny one-bedroom apartment that costs way too much but gives me space to breathe. Of course, I couldn't just cut them off completely. I felt responsible for them, guilty about all those years they'd supported me through college while I worked part-time. So here I am now, 11 years later, still trapped in the same cycle. I work at Henderson Marketing, a decent company with good benefits, but I might as well be working at that old cafe for all the financial freedom I have. Every month, like clockwork, $2,000 disappears from my account and lands in Mom's. I was in the middle of reviewing a campaign for some overpriced handbag brand when my phone started buzzing. Mom's name flashed on the screen. I let it go to voicemail. I was at work, after all. But then it rang again and again. I picked up on the 5th ring. Hi, Mom. I'm at work right now. Polly. Mom's voice was practically singing through the phone. I have the most wonderful news. I rubbed my temples. When Mom got this excited, it usually meant expensive news for me. What's going on? I asked, trying to keep my voice low. We're throwing a family party, a big one. All the relatives are coming. Aunt Martha, Uncle Pete, your cousins from Ohio, everyone. It's going to be absolutely magical. My stomach dropped. A party? What's the occasion? Do we need an occasion to celebrate family? She laughed. I've been planning this for weeks. We're going to have a barbecue in the backyard. I've already contacted a DJ and we're getting one of those bounce houses for the kids. Oh, and I found the most amazing caterer. Each item on her list felt like another punch to my wallet. Mom, that sounds really expensive. How much are we talking about here? Well, that's why I'm calling, sweetie. We need $2,500. I almost dropped the phone. $2,500? Are you insane? Polly, Mom's voice immediately shifted to that wounded tone she'd perfected over the years. I thought you'd be excited about bringing the family together. We haven't had a proper party in years. Mom, that's because proper parties cost money we don't have, I said, aware that my voice was getting louder. We're expecting 30 people, Polly. The food alone costs $800, and that's with me getting a deal from Maria's Catering. The DJ is $500 and the bounce house is $300, plus decorations, drinks, extra tables, and chairs we need to rent. She rattled off the expenses like she was reading a grocery list. Meanwhile, I was doing quick math in my head and feeling sick. Mom, why don't we do something smaller? Have people over for burgers and potato salad. Play music from someone's phone. The kids can play in the yard without needing a bounce house. The silence on the other end was deafening. I see, Mom said finally, her voice ice cold. I should have known you wouldn't want to help. You've never liked me anyway. She hung up on me. I tried calling back immediately straight to voicemail. I tried again 5 minutes later. Same thing. She was ignoring me, which was her favorite manipulation tactic. Whenever I questioned her spending plans, the rest of my workday was shot. I couldn't concentrate on anything. Every few minutes, I'd check my phone, hoping for a text or missed call, but nothing. The guilt was eating me alive. What if she was right? What if I was just being selfish? $2,500 was a lot, but it wasn't like I couldn't afford it. I just didn't want to afford it. By the time I got home that evening, I was a wreck. I'd called Mom 6 more times throughout the day, and she hadn't answered once. I even tried texting her, but she left me on read. Around 9 p.m., I cracked. I opened my banking app and transferred the money with a note. For the family party. Love you, Mom. My account balance made me want to cry. There went my emergency fund I'd been slowly building up. But within 2 minutes, my phone lit up with a text from Mom. "Oh, sweetheart. Thank you so much. I knew you'd come through for us. You're such a good daughter. I'm so sorry I got upset earlier. This party is going to be absolutely perfect." The week leading up to the party, Mom sent me daily updates, pictures of the decorations she was buying, details about the menu, excitement about relatives flying in from out of state. Every message made my stomach turn a little more as I thought about the money. When Saturday finally arrived, I drove to my parents' house with mixed feelings. Part of me was curious to see what $2,500 had bought. Another part of me was dreading it. The backyard looked like something out of a magazine, wide string lights everywhere, perfectly arranged tables with fancy linens, a professional DJ setup with speakers that probably cost more than my monthly rent. The bounce house was enormous, way bigger than necessary for the handful of kids who would be there. "Polly." Aunt Martha grabbed me in a hug the second I walked through the gate. "Can you believe your mother put all this together? She's absolutely incredible." I forced a smile. "Yeah, it's really something." The party was in full swing, 30 people, just like Mom had said, all eating catered food and dancing to the DJ's music. Everyone kept complimenting Mom on what an amazing hostess she was, how she thought of everything, how this was the best family party they'd ever been to. And Mom was eating it up. She was glowing, moving from group to group, accepting praise and compliments like she was some kind of party planning genius. "Your mother is so generous," my cousin Lisa said to me. "She must have spent a fortune on all this." I just nodded and took another sip of my beer. If only she knew where that fortune actually came from. The worst part was watching Danny. He was 25 now, supposedly an adult, but he was just hanging around, eating free food and playing with his phone. When people asked what he was up to, he'd give vague answers about looking for the right opportunity or taking some time to figure things out. Meanwhile, I was standing there, knowing I just funded his party with money I couldn't really afford to spend. When the evening finally wound down and the last guests left, Mom asked me to help clean up. Actually, it was more like an order disguised as a request. After we finished cleaning up, I found myself sitting in the living room with Mom, Dad, and Danny. I was exhausted and ready to go home. But something inside me had been building up all evening, watching everyone praise Mom for a party I'd paid for, seeing Danny just coast through life while I worked my ass off. I couldn't hold it in anymore. "We need to talk," I said, setting down the glass I'd been holding. They all looked at me. Dad was half asleep in his recliner. Mom was counting leftover napkins. And Danny was still glued to his phone. "I can't keep doing this," I continued. "The money thing. I can't keep supporting everyone." At first, nobody said anything. Then Danny actually looked up from his phone and started laughing. Not a little chuckle, full-on laughter. "What's so funny?" I asked. Mom joined in, giggling like I'd told the world's best joke. Even Dad cracked a smile. "Oh, honey," Mom said, wiping her eyes, "you're being dramatic. This is just how our family works. You help us. We're all happy. Why would you want to change that?" "Because I'm 27 years old, and I can't save any money for my own future," I said. "I want to buy a house someday. I want to have something for myself." "You have your apartment," Danny said, like that solved everything. "A rental apartment that costs way too much because I can barely afford anything better," I shot back. Mom waved her hand dismissively. You make good money, Polly. You can afford to help your family. I make decent money, but I give most of it to you guys. Do you have any idea what I spend on myself each month? Do you know what I ate for dinner last night? Instant noodles. Again. That's your choice, Mom said. Nobody's forcing you to eat cheap food. I stared at her. You literally are forcing me by taking $2,000 every month. We're not taking anything. Dad finally spoke up. You give it to us because you want to help your family. The conversation was going in circles. I tried a different approach. Look at tonight. I paid $2,500 for this party. You guys got all the credit, all the praise from the relatives. But I'm the one who's going to be eating ramen for the next month because my emergency fund is gone. The party was beautiful, Mom said firmly. Everyone had a wonderful time. Family is about sacrifice, Polly. Why is it always my sacrifice? I asked. When has Danny ever sacrificed anything for this family? Danny finally put his phone down and looked at me like I was crazy. I'm still figuring out my career path. It's different for me. You're 25 years old, I said. I was working at 16. You've had 9 years to figure out your career path. Times are different now, Mom jumped in. It's harder for young people to find good jobs. Danny needs time to find the right opportunity. What about my opportunities? What about what I want? Mom's expression hardened. What you want is to be selfish. We raised you, supported you through college. Now it's your turn to support us. I looked around the room at all of them, Dad nodding along with Mom, Danny back to scrolling on his phone like this conversation didn't even concern him, Mom with that stubborn set to her jaw that meant the discussion was over as far as she was concerned. Since you clearly don't want to help your family, Mom continued, maybe you should just go home. So I did. I got in my car and drove back to my apartment, barely able to see the road through my angry tears. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the conversation, thinking of all the things I should have said. By morning, I'd made a decision. I wasn't going to text or call them, but I also wasn't going to stop sending them monthly money. Not yet. I needed time to figure out how to handle this mess. A month passed. Radio silence from my family, which was actually kind of peaceful. I sent the usual $2,000 on the first of the month, like always. No thank you text from Mom this time, but whatever. Then, on a Tuesday afternoon, my phone rang. Mom again. Danny's 25th birthday is next Saturday, she said without even saying hello. We're having dinner at Romano's. Romano's was the most expensive restaurant in town, the kind of place where appetizers cost $30. We've reserved the private dining room, Mom continued. The whole family's coming, 35 people. It's going to be absolutely perfect for Danny's special day. My heart sank. How much? $3,000. But don't worry, I've already made all the arrangements. You just need to handle the payment. I felt like I was going to throw up. Mom, I don't have $3,000 right now. Of course you do. You make good money. I just sent you $2,000 last week, and I'm still recovering from that party. Polly, I've already booked everything. The restaurant is expecting payment on Saturday night. You'll figure it out. What if I can't come? I asked. Mom actually laughed. You don't have to come. Just make sure the money's there. The line went dead. She'd hung up on me again. I sat there, staring at my phone, feeling something shift inside me. I opened my banking app and canceled the automatic transfer I had set up for next month's $2,000. Then I waited for Saturday. Danny's birthday came and went. I sent him a text that morning. Happy 25th birthday. Hope you have a great day. He texted back 2 hours later. Thanks. Don't forget about the $3,000. I smiled and put my phone away. That evening, I knew they were all at Romano's, probably ordering the most expensive items on the menu. Around 8 p.m., my phone started lighting up with messages from Mom. Where's the money, Polly? We need to pay soon. The restaurant is asking about the bill. Polly, answer your phone. I ignored every single message. Then I opened my banking app and transferred $5 to Mom's account with a memo. This is what you deserve. After that, I turned off my phone completely, made myself a cup of tea, ate a piece of leftover cake, took a long shower, and went to bed early. Best night's sleep I'd had in years. When I turned my phone back on Sunday morning, I had 37 missed calls and 63 text messages. The progression was like watching someone go through all 5 stages of grief in real time. First came anger. How could you do this to us? You've humiliated the entire family. We had to put $3,000 on a credit card because of you. Then panic. Please call us back. We need to talk. This isn't like you, Polly. We're worried about you. Then bargaining. If you pay us back the $3,000, we'll forget this ever happened. Maybe we can work out a payment plan. Then depression. I can't believe my own daughter would abandon her family like this. Your father is heartbroken. How did we raise such a selfish person? And finally, acceptance mixed with blame. Fine, we know who you really are now. Don't expect us to be there for you when you need help. I read through every single message while drinking my coffee, and honestly, I felt lighter than I had in years. Around noon, someone started pounding on my apartment door. I looked through the peephole and saw all 3 of them standing there. Mom, Dad, and Danny. They looked pissed. I opened the door because I knew this conversation was inevitable. How could you do this to us? Mom started yelling before she even stepped inside. Do you have any idea what you put us through last night? I have a pretty good idea, I said calmly, stepping aside to let them in. We had to put $3,000 on a credit card, Dad said. $3,000 we don't have. That sounds like a you problem, I said. Danny stepped forward, and for a second, I thought he might actually try to intimidate me. You need to pay us back right now. I almost laughed. I'm not paying you back anything. Yes, you are, Mom said. You embarrassed us in front of the entire family. Everyone was asking where you were, why the bill wasn't paid. It was humiliating. Good, I said. Maybe now you'll understand how I felt for the past 11 years. This is completely different, Dad said. We're your family. We raised you. And I've been paying you back for that ever since I was 16, I said. When does the debt get settled? When am I allowed to live my own life? Never, Mom said flatly. Family takes care of family. That's how it works. Not anymore, I said. I'm done. No more monthly payments. No more emergency funds for your parties. No more anything. You're all adults. Figure it out yourselves. Danny actually laughed. You can't be serious. I'm dead serious. I'm cutting you off completely. All of you. Then we'll cut you off too, Danny said, like he was threatening me with something I'd hate. We'll disown you. I started laughing so hard I had tears in my eyes. Please do. That would make me the happiest person on earth. The look on their faces was priceless. They'd expected me to break down, to beg them not to abandon me. Instead, I was practically celebrating. You don't mean that, Mom said quietly. I absolutely mean it. In fact, let me help you pack up any belongings I might have left here, and then you can pretend I never existed. Polly, you're being ridiculous, Dad said. Let's all calm down and talk about this like adults. I am being an adult, I said. I'm setting boundaries. I'm taking control of my own life. You should try it sometime. We won't be around anymore, Mom said desperately. No more family dinners, no more holidays, no more help when you need it. When have you ever helped me? I asked. When have any of you ever been there for me? All you've done is take my money and expect me to be grateful for the privilege. They stood there for a few more minutes, trying different guilt trips and manipulation tactics, but I wasn't budging. Finally, they gave up and left. I locked the door behind them and felt this incredible sense of relief wash over me. The next few weeks were rough. They called constantly, texted from different phone numbers when I blocked them, even had relatives calling to tell me I was being unreasonable. Aunt Martha left me a 20-minute voicemail about family loyalty. Uncle Pete sent me a text about respecting my elders. Cousin Lisa wrote me a long email about how disappointed she was in me. I blocked them all. 6 months later, I was living in a completely different world. Without that $2,000 monthly drain, I actually had money left over after paying my bills. I started a real savings account. I bought new clothes that weren't from clearance racks. I went out to dinner at actual restaurants instead of eating ramen every night. Through the family gossip network that I couldn't completely escape, I learned some interesting things. Danny had finally gotten a job at a warehouse. Apparently, when the money stopped coming from me, Mom and Dad gave him an ultimatum: contribute or get out. Amazing how quickly he found work when his survival depended on it. Mom had picked up extra shifts at her part-time job and was now working full-time. Dad was looking into getting a second job on weekends. They weren't living the comfortable lifestyle they'd gotten used to on my dime, but they were surviving. Good for them. I also learned that they'd been telling people I'd had some kind of mental breakdown and abandoned my family. Whatever helped them sleep at night. The best part? I was finally able to start looking at houses. Not rentals, but actual houses I could buy, with a real down payment and everything. I found a cute little 2-bedroom place across town and put in an offer. Last week, my real estate agent asked if my family was excited about me buying my first home. I don't have a family, I told her. And for the first time in my life, that felt like freedom instead of loss. I'm finally living my own life. It only took me 11 years to figure out that I didn't owe them my future just because they gave me life. Best decision I ever made.